The narrative of the Exodus as described in the Bible has long fascinated scholars, theologians, and archaeologists. One of the most debated aspects of this narrative is the location of Mount Sinai, or possibly Mount Dani, as some suggest, where Moses is said to have received the Ten Commandments in the route the Israelites escaped from Egypt, including their crossing a body of water. Traditional interpretations place Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula, but recent theories suggest an alternative location near Al-Bad in northwest Saudi Arabia. Furthermore, the crossing of the Red Sea is a focal point of this debate, with increasing interest in the possibility that the crossing occurred at or near Nubia port. The study explores the hypothesis that Mount Dani, believed by some to be Mount Sinai, may be located near Al-Bad, examines the historical manipulation of records by ancient Egyptian pharaohs, and considers the feasibility of the Israelites crossing either the Red Sea or the Reed Sea. The investigation incorporates historical records, archaeological findings, and geographical analysis to build a case for these theories. The ancient Egyptians were meticulous record keepers, yet they were also known for altering or erasing events that portray their rulers in a negative or unfavorable light. The erasure of Queen Hatshepsut's name and systematic removal of Akhenaten's legacy exemplifies this trend. It is plausible that an event as significant as the Exodus, which involved the humiliation of the Pharaoh and devastation of Egypt, could have been deliberately omitted from Egyptian records, or the record could have been destroyed, as 90% is estimated to be destroyed and unrecoverable due to the humidity of the Nile Sea. The absence of direct Egyptian accounts of the Exodus may also be attributed to their theological framework. The Egyptians viewed their pharaohs as divine beings. A mass departure of slaves, accompanied by supernatural events, would have undermined the divine authority of Pharaoh, promoting a consensus effort to suppress such accounts. In light of this, historians must rely on alternative sources such as the biblical narrative and archaeological evidence to reconstruct the events surrounding the Exodus. The manipulation of historical records by the pharaohs underscores the need to approach the Exodus story with a critical and interdisciplinary perspective. Mount Dani, Al-Bad, located northwest of the Saudi Arabia, is known for its proximity to the Jebel al-Lawz mountain range. Some researchers, including proponents of the Mount Dani hypothesis, argue that this area aligns with descriptions of Mount Sinai in the biblical text. The rugged terrain, isolation, and features of the surrounding landscape make it a compelling candidate, including a possibility of water flowing out from a possible Mount Horeb. The town of Al-Bad is also associated with ancient Midian and the land where Moses fled after killing an Egyptian, where he later encountered the burning bush. This connection adds weight to the argument that Mount Sinai or Dani might be nearby. The Midianite context, coupled with geographical features, makes Al-Bad a strong contender for the site of the biblical mountain. Archaeological findings in the Jebel al-Lawz region, including rock formations that resemble altars, petroglyphs depicting cattle, and what some interpret as remnants of ancient encampments. This includes a petroglyph that was vandalized depicting a menorah, or possible menorah. Proponents of the Al-Bad hypothesis argue that these findings align with biblical descriptions of the Israelite activities at Mount Sinai. Critics, however, caution against drawing definitive conclusions from these findings. They argue that the evidence is circumstantial and could be attributed to other historical periods or cultures. Nevertheless, the unique features of the region continue to attract scholarly attention and warrant further investigation. The route taken by the Israelites during the Exodus has been subject of intense debate. Traditional views place the crossing at the northern end of the Red Sea near Bitter Lakes of Lake Timsha, based on the assumption that the Red Sea in the biblical text is a mistranslation of the Reed Sea. Recent theories, however, suggest a more dramatic crossing of the Gulf of Aqaba near Nubia port. This hypothesis is supported by geographical and underwater features that some researchers argue align with the biblical account. The Nubia port theory is bolstered by the discovery of an underwater land bridge in the Gulf of Aqaba. This submerged ridge connects the Egyptian and Saudi Arabian shores, providing a possible path of a mass crossing. Proponents argue that this feature could have been exposed during a natural phenomenon such as wind-driven parting the waters as described in the Bible. Additionally, underwater surveys in the area have identified coral formations that some interpret as remnants of ancient chariot wheels and look very much like them. While these findings are controversial and not universally accepted, they have fueled interest in the Nubia port crossing theory, along with Solomon pillars near the region, commemorating the area by ancient Israelites as the crossing area. The possibility that the Israelites crossed a Reed Sea rather than the Red Sea has been a topic of scholarly debate. This interpretation is based on the Hebrew term Yam Su, which can be translated as the Sea of Reeds. Proponents of this view suggest that the crossing occurred in shallow marshy areas such as the Bitter Lakes or Lake Timsah. While the Reed Sea hypothesis aligns with some geographical and linguistic evidence, it is often criticized for lacking the dramatic elements described in the biblical narrative. The parting of the waters and the drowning of the Pharaoh's army are central to the Exodus story, and a shallow marsh crossing would significantly alter the traditional interpretation. The debate between the Red Sea and the Reed Sea theories hinges on the interpretation of biblical and linguistic evidence, as well as the feasibility of natural explanations for the crossing. While the Reed Sea hypothesis is more plausible from a naturalistic perspective, the Red Sea crossing aligns more closely with the dramatic and miraculous events described in the Bible. The Nubia port crossing theory in particular offers a compelling middle ground that combines elements of natural phenomena with the dramatic scale of the biblical account, providing a plausible explanation for the events of the Exodus. The search for Mount Dani near Al-Bad and the investigation of the Red Sea crossing by Nubia port highlights the complexity of reconstructing ancient events. The historical manipulation of records by Egyptian pharaohs adds another layer of difficulty, requiring scholars to rely on a combination of biblical texts, archaeological findings, and geographical analysis. While the evidence remains inconclusive, the theories explored in this study demonstrate the richness of the Exodus narrative and its enduring impact on history and culture. The possibility of Mount Dani residing near Al-Bad and the crossing of the Red Sea at Nubia port are intriguing avenues for further research, inviting scholars to continue the quest for answers to these enduring mysteries.